Okay, so we've already walked through the process of actually adding an article to SEOLinkVine. The next thing we have to do is learn a little bit about how to actually use the spin feature of SEOLinkVine, which is really what makes this one of the more unique systems that's out there today. So the first thing that you have to do is to actually go to an article that you already have loaded in the system. So I have my interval training article here, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. Now this is a really simple process with SEOLinkVine. So this is the edit interface, and you're already used to this if you've added an article to the system or if you watched the video about how to add an article to the system. But now we're going to talk about the specific aspects of this interface which will allow you to spin or submit multiple different variations of your content to the different blogs within SEOLinkVine. Now the first piece that you're going to want to spin or submit different versions of is the title. Now traditionally when you spin titles you have to actually put in code or add in multiple variations using code within the system. In SEOLinkVine it's actually really simple. So you have this big text box here with your title. Then you just go in, here's my existing title, so it's The Real Truth About Interval Training. So I'm just going to go through and just for the sake of this, I'm going to copy it. I go down another line and I can say, just delete that. Interval training can help you get healthier. So that's another title that I've just added. So one person may see this top title, another person may see the second title. If I want to add another title, just go down here and type in an additional title. And it's as simple as that. So within a couple of seconds time, I have 3 different variations of my title. So that's how you spin the titles within SEOLinkVine. Really simple task, and you can actually add in as many of those as you want. The more of those that you add in, the better off you're going to be in terms of preventing any kind of duplication of your content within the network. The more variation you have, the better off you're going to be in terms of Google's eyes, because it's going to see more unique versions of your content, more unique versions will stick, and more unique versions will pass link weight back to your own website. So that's the title. Now let's talk about the body of the text. Now again, traditionally with article spinners you have to go through and you have to rewrite specific portions. So if I want to say cardiovascular routines, if I actually want to rewrite that, if I want to spin that particular phrase, then I would go through, I would highlight that, I'd hit rewrite text, and then I get a box that says edit this text. So here's my original version. Now if I want to put in another version, I put cardio exercises would be my additional version right there. So now when search comes in, they see, some people see cardiovascular routines, other people see cardio exercises. So I've spun this particular phrase. Now you can spin as many phrases as you want. You can spin sentences, you can spin entire paragraphs, as many things as you want to spin, you can spin. Again, the task is really simple. So if I go more effective, I want to add a variation to that. Works best. That could be a variation to it. If I want to add another variation, I just hit another variation. I can have is ideal. That's basically how you spin little small blocks of text. Okay, so if I want to rewrite it, hit rewrite text, add variation, so I can add multiple different versions of that particular phrase that I want to spin. If I want to delete them, hit delete variation. Very simple. Now I can also go in and I can spin looking for synonyms. So if I want to look for a synonym for amazing, so I highlight that phrase, I hit get synonyms, and then it's going to give me a multitude of different synonyms for that. Now if I want to use all of these, I just select them and then I hit done. So now what it does is it spins and it adds amazing, incredible, wonderful, remarkable, and astounding as all spun versions of that particular phrase. Really simple to do. Okay, this is something that in a lot of spinning systems is actually a very difficult task. Now a lot of times you're going to have phrases that's maybe like an acronym that you want to add a synonym to. So if you have something like SEO, which you use a lot and you know there's going to be synonyms for, and you want to actually add those to a dictionary, you can actually do that in your own thesaurus. So if you want to set up your thesaurus, you go ahead, you highlight that word, you go into your thesaurus, you go to my favorites, and if you want to add in a phrase as a synonym, you go ahead and you type in a word. So SEO is my word, and you can add in synonyms for that, so that when they go in and you set synonyms later on, then it's going to automatically pull those in. So this could be search engine optimization, but you can add multiple here. You could actually have search marketing or search engine marketing. And now these are going to add automatically from now on every single time you look for synonyms for the term SEO. So I'm going to hit save there. So now when I go into SEO, I highlight it, I go to get synonyms, you'll see search engine optimization, search engine marketing, SEO. All of these are available things for me to add. So I could just click on them, and then I hit done, and then I have all my spun versions right available there. Now this is the traditional method of spinning. Now in SEOLinkVine, we actually go a little bit further than that. We actually have a mechanism where you can auto spin your entire block of content. So instead of doing this one by one piece, you can auto spin all of the content that's in there. So once you click the auto spin button, basically what SEOLinkVine is going to do, it's going to go through the entire text that you've added already, your entire article, and it's going to look for synonyms that make the most sense to substitute in. Now this isn't just a traditional method of doing this, it does it based off of user behavior as well as synonyms that it pulls from a dictionary. So if I use the phrase interval training, and there's lots of other users in our network that use the phrase interval training but always substitute cardio training for that, then it's going to substitute in cardio training. So it looks at behavior in the network to look for synonyms that most often occur when somebody uses a phrase. So now what you see is, instead of me going and rewriting text and adding variations and deleting that, by clicking auto spin once, you can see the entire article has now been spun. So this is super quick. That took about 3 seconds to do, but now everything has been spun in this. So you can see the phrase against, there's in opposition, there's towards, so all of this content has been spun automatically without me having to do much of anything. So when using this feature, it's a really good idea to go back through and make sure that this content makes sense, because a lot of times you'll have a substitution in there that maybe just doesn't really fit, and then the content will go out, and then the other users in the network will review it, say, okay, this isn't really that great content, and then they'll reject it. So it's a really good idea to take a couple of minutes and breeze through this. It only takes you a couple of minutes to breeze through the substitutions that were made and make sure that they fit within the context of your article. Okay, now there's a couple more features that I want to highlight before we finish talking about the article spinner itself. One of which is the fact that up to this point I've shown you that you can spin lots and lots of content and just text content. But in reality you can honestly spin anything that you want, and you can even spin things like links. So if we're optimizing for the term cardiovascular routines, but we want to optimize for multiple different subpages, maybe as an example on the cardiovascular routines, that's the anchor text that I've chosen. I send this to, we'll just say website.com cardio as one example. So then I'll insert that link, but then I can also swap in another link that gets substituted or spun that maybe can go to a totally different place. So you can either send it to the same exact page but vary your anchor text, or maybe you send it to a totally different page. So this could be one of the tactics that you use as an example of, if I want to use this article to optimize for several terms and send them to several different pages, so I can substitute my anchor text and substitute with the landing pages, and I can spin these just like I can spin any other block of content. So it's not just being able to spin the text itself, you're also able to spin links and anchor text. Now the other thing that's important to note is that you can spin using a variety of different format. So if you're familiar with another spinning format, or if you're coming from another platform where you already have content that's already spun, you can actually just dump that right into SEOLinkVine and we'll accept that formatting. So if you separate your text using this format, we'll use it. If you separate your text using this formatting, we can use it. If you use the tilde to separate, or if you use the tilde to separate and then you use this type of bracket versus the types of brackets that are listed above. So pretty much any kind of format that you've used in an article spinner up to this point, we can accept in SEOLinkVine. So if you have articles that are already spun in another system and you just want to move them over, then you can just use this. And it's just the same thing that you see in our system is just key phrase separated by this bracket, key phrase. And the same thing here, key phrase separated by key phrase. So the only thing you have to keep in mind is you can't open with one and end with another one. So any of these formats that you see here are acceptable here. The format that we use in SEOLinkVine is this one, but we'll accept any single one of those. Now, the other feature that I want to talk about really quick is especially important if you're optimizing for particular keywords with an article, and that's the protected words feature. Now, this is really cool because when we go out and we write articles, we usually write them against a particular keyword. So if we have a particular keyword that we're optimizing this one for, interval training as an example, we've written the article, we've set a keyword density for it, and we want to optimize this for that particular term. Now, if you go through and you use the synonyms feature or the auto spin feature, then what happens is that our interval training phrase could be subbed out for a synonym. Now, if I go through and I add it as a protected word, then what happens is every time I try to use auto spin or every time I try to use the synonym feature on this article, it will never substitute out interval training if I add it as a protected word. That's a really cool and quick feature to keep your base level optimization for the terms that you've already tried to set out and optimize for. So once you've done that, you can go through, you can make edits to what's already in there, or you can just go through and you can hit Save Article, which is what I'm going to do here. So now, having used the auto spin feature, I can go back through now. So here's my initial article. You can see I have 3 variations of my title. If I want to view that article and actually see the result of that spun content, I'll go here and I'll click on View, and then it's going to take me to the actual spun version of my content. So what you see here, this is a spun title, and then all the content that's in here is spun. So this isn't the content that I initially submitted, it's a spun version. So you can look, there's 532 words, and there's been a 70% rewrite. Now, prior to this, we used to advise just going through and doing about a 50% spin, because that gives you a lot more traction of your content in this network. This, using the auto spin feature, gives you a whole 70%. So if I go through, I hit spin article, it's going to serve me a totally different version. You can see that the title's changed, but the content is actually changed too. So every single time I do that, it's going to give me another different version of the article. So you can see how the auto spin version actually goes through and reads. And that's a really, really simple task, really simple and quick way for you to spin your content and get more traction with it within SEOLinkVine. So again, just go in, rewrite your text, rewrite different titles. You can implement the auto spin feature, review it rather quickly, and then submit, and now you're going to get a ton more traction from your article content versus what you would have traditionally gotten using regular article marketing.